Have you ever wanted a podcast that did it all? Sports, politics, world events. Well, you have come to the right place, because you are listening to C&C Talks.
Hello, I'm Colin.
And I'm Charlie.
And welcome to the C&C Talks podcast, episode 8 of season 2. And Charlie, it's good to be back after a 1-week hiatus.
Yes, it is. And just a reminder, as you do every week, we release every Tuesday, and we talk about politics, world events, and sports. It is currently Monday, February 27th, 2023, at about 7 p.m. Pacific time.
Yeah, and coming up on this episode, we're going to talk about the East Palestine disaster, some news from Fox News, if we can call them news, some news about a potential Trump indictment, and then lots of stuff going on in sports with the NBA entering their second half of the season following All-Star Week, college basketball getting into the fun part of the season, spring training getting underway.
F1's back.
F1 is back. It's its first race next week, Charlie, correct?
No, this week.
On the 5th?
Yep, Bahrain.
And in Bahrain, yeah. So we'll talk about that next week. Lots of stuff to talk about next week too, but yeah, so fun show this week. Start with East Palestine. So yeah, maybe I was premature on fun, Charlie.
Yep. There was a train derailment that began to spew toxic waste. Colin, can we get some more on what it was leaking?
Yeah, so I mean, really, it's something that we should have talked about 2 weeks ago, but it wasn't really especially known. The derailment happened, I believe, on the 3rd day of February, and our last show, I believe, we taped on the 13th. But yeah, just that's really when it was revealed. Took forever to get revealed, but just a disaster for the town of East Palestine with this train derailment. Some, in hindsight, probably bad decisions by the state government there on what to do with it. End result is unhealthy air, unhealthy water, likely. And Charlie, I think this could have been avoided.
Oh, absolutely. And I do think that because you were talking about the air and water, there was a concern for a brief amount that this could seep into the groundwater, which of course would have disastrous consequences for the entire region.
Yeah, but I mean, when we talk about how it could have been prevented, I think that one of the key ways it could have been prevented is that there were regulations put in place during the Obama administration that the Trump administration repealed. And then of course, obviously, some blame has to go on Norfolk Southern here.
For those who don't know, Norfolk Southern is the railroad company whose train derailed.
You cannot choose safety over. Sorry. You have to choose safety over profits. You cannot choose profits over safety. And if we cannot trust these companies to make those decisions that are right, then that's where the government has to step in and put regulations in place. That's the entire point of regulations.
So you think the government should start regulating this thing?
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, when Pete Buttigieg, the Secretary of Transportation, was in East Palestine, I was not actually happy with his response. He said something to the effect of, yeah, we're trying to put in new regulations, but unfortunately, these companies are fighting them. Right, that's not the argument that you think it is. They don't have the power other than the power of the purse. So the only thing that they can do is pay you guys not to put regulations in place. That's not legal. I mean, it happens all the time, but it's still not legal.
We have an update on one of our fellow news sources, Fox News. Colin, can we learn about that?
Charlie, can we not call them a news source?
I mean, fair.
We're teenagers talking about the news, and we provide significantly more reliable news than them.
Good point.
Right? And it's not just me saying that. That's them saying it, because they're currently under a lawsuit. A lawsuit was filed against them a couple of years ago by Dominion Voting Systems, a defamation lawsuit for $1.6 billion due to the lies that they told about the 2020 election. Obviously, this has a big effect on Dominion Voting Systems, Charlie, because there were a bunch of lies being told about the voting machines that they ran. It cost that company significant money, and their public image went way down on the right, and being sued. And some of what's been revealed is text messages between Fox News hosts, and not even just hosts, but upper leadership at the company, that show that they didn't believe the lies that they were spouting on air, but they would keep spouting them because ratings, right?
Yeah, and
That's not a news organization, Charlie.
no, you can't be news if you're throwing something out there just for your viewers to believe it, even though you know that it's an absolute lie.
They know it's an absolute lie. They've said it's an absolute lie. Also learned shortly before we started taping this episode today that Rupert Murdoch, head of Fox News, turned over Biden's ads during the campaign to Jared Kushner and the Trump campaign before they were made public. I don't know if that's illegal, Charlie, but it feels like
it probably should be.
It at least should be if it's not. So the bigger question, though, is what accountability is there going to be? Obviously, there's this lawsuit, but that doesn't even put that significant of a dent in Fox's in Fox's money. I think personally that their credentials should be stripped at like the White House and in Congress, right? They're not providing actual news. It's basically just an entertainment network. Stephen Colbert doesn't have credentials. Why should Fox News?
Good point.
Yeah, and that there is someone out there, Charlie, who does seem to think that Fox News is actual news, judging by the fact that he turned over some pretty valuable information to them.
And we all know who that is.
It's Kevin McCarthy.
Yep.
Who has turned over all the tapes, the 41,000 hours, I believe, of footage, security camera footage in the Capitol from January 6th, to none other than Tucker Carlson. Again,
that seems like an absolutely unbiased idea.
Exactly. And you've got to wonder the intent here. I think it's pretty clear, frankly.
Yep.
Do you trust Tucker Carlson to put the truth out about January 6th?
No.
Exactly. Now,
and I don't think anyone should.
No, but the problem is that people do.
Well, yeah. People can believe whatever they want to believe unless it is actively dangerous to the survival of this nation.
But in this case, I feel like in some ways it is, right?
Yes.
These people tried to riot on the Capitol. I mean, they did riot on the Capitol.
They tried to take the Capitol.
Yeah, they tried to kill members of Congress. They tried to hang the vice president, and they would do it again.
And their vice president was on their party.
Yeah. Oh, and now that vice president, by the way, Charlie, you know what he's doing? He's refusing to testify.
Yep.
Against
the
the
boss
that tried to hang him. He doesn't want to admit it to
anything.
Yeah.
Ain't that interesting? He cares more about his party than he does himself.
Yeah, I mean, the 2023 Republican Party, everyone. The leader of that party, Donald Trump, is possibly going to be indicted, Charlie, in Georgia. There's some new stuff out of there. That special grand jury report being released that suggests lots of indictments could potentially be coming, including some for perjury there. Trump is believed to be one of the names listed by this special grand jury in this report that they recommend that the Fulton County District Attorney indict for some sort of crimes likely involving election fraud.
And we will
that's the Republican Party.
Yep, and we will keep talking about this in the weeks following as this story develops.
And furthermore, in the Republican Party, you know who else you've got? As a
Marjorie Taylor
congresswoman?
Greene.
Yeah, and what did she do?
She called for a national divorce along party lines.
Yeah, the blue states would separate from the red states.
Does,
I mean,
does she realize that she's in a blue state right now?
Charlie, I don't think that brains were ever her strong suit.
I have to agree with you there.
Yeah, but that is what we're talking about in 2023. A sitting member of Congress has called basically for the end of the United States. And not a single member of her party has condemned her for it.
Why have one U.S. when you can have two?
Exactly. I mean, that is the nature of the extraordinary times that we're living in.
Yep, and we have some news from around the world as well. For the 1-year anniversary of the Russian invasion of Ukraine, Biden has visited Ukraine, held a couple speeches there to help prop up the Ukrainians, as well as announce some new aid to them as well.
Yeah, so what do you think now that we've reached the 1-year anniversary of this war? Where is this war going? Because obviously, a year ago we were all seeing headlines like Kyiv could fall in hours. Kyiv is still standing.
Yeah.
Ukraine controls the overwhelming majority of the territory that they controlled at the beginning of the war.
But the only question is, can they keep it going? Is the West going to invest enough in Ukraine's military and their economy to prevent an eventual collapse through attrition?
Yeah, I mean,
I think
that the West will keep providing that, but still,
I think they will.
But still, is that enough? Is that enough? And what does the end look like? Right? Ukraine says that they want to recapture Crimea. I don't know.
Can they?
Can they? I don't know if that's too likely. Russia obviously still wants to capture all of Ukraine. That seems very unlikely as well. And even if they do, you've got a people that don't want anything to do with Russia. Right? How do you govern that? You don't.
Yeah, I could see a peace deal, something along the lines, if the current fronts stay locked as they are, which it seems rather likely that they will. It seems like progress is being increasingly tough as both sides build fortifications and really lock down their front lines. However, that will change as we move into spring. But if the front lines stay as they are, I could see something along the lines of Russia gives back some of the eastern territory that they have in exchange for Crimea, for example.
They keep Crimea, you mean?
Yeah, that they keep Crimea and Ukraine stops trying to get it or something like that.
Yeah, I don't know. It's complicated because, I mean, at some point it does have to end, but also it's not a viable solution to have Ukraine give up territory. We've discussed this on the podcast before, Charlie. That's basically appeasement.
And we know how all that goes.
That didn't work with Hitler. It's not going to work with Putin. And anybody that suggests that it will is making a mistake. Right? Vladimir Putin wants to capture Ukraine. If he can get it if he has to get it piece by piece, he'll do that.
He will. And we also have some news from the Middle East as well. There have been massive protests in Israel, not only over Netanyahu's decisions to try to dissolve the judiciary, but also increased tensions with Palestine as well. Colin, can we get a little bit more on what these protests are all about?
Yeah, so I would say that you probably know more about these protests than I do, but I mean, it's an extraordinary statement what you said a minute ago about dissolving the judiciary. I mean, we've discussed the fascist stuff going on in the US, we just did, but fascism is having a global moment right now.
Ah, yes, very democratic of you to destroy part of your democratic government.
Yeah. Oh, and you know why? It's because he's under investigation by the judiciary. Gee, wouldn't it be nice if that problem went away for him?
See, you guys don't trust me, so I'm getting rid of you.
Exactly. Anything to add on the Israel front, Charlie, before we move
Nope,
on?
not yet. Again, that's another developing story that we will continue to discuss as it develops more.
Yeah, and of course also with some news that we covered before we left when talking about the Turkey-Syria earthquake.
As
Death toll
continues to
still,
rise as
yeah,
reconstruction continues.
and the U.S. House passed passed a resolution today, today as of when we're taping this, to mourn the loss of life, which is kind of pointless. I genuinely do not get the point of these resolutions. But what I do know is that 2 Republicans voted against that resolution, Marjorie Taylor Greene and Thomas Massie. The
All right,
pro-life party, everybody.
just a reminder, you're listening to the C&C Talks podcast. Thank you for listening. Let's move on to sports.
Yeah, let's move on to sports, which
Well, the NBA had an all-star game. It wasn't good.
It wasn't. I mean, game is a bit strong. There were stars. Game's a bit strong. What needs to change, Charlie? Because that was just an absolutely terrible all-star game.
I don't know. I think it's a problem with the game itself, maybe with the players selected, but I don't know. It was just a horrible game.
Yeah, I mean, the best all-star game is the MLB All-Star game, right?
True.
And it makes sense. It does make sense. Because it's the hardest to change the game to make it worse. Like it's harder for players to half-ass it.
It's pretty difficult without being completely obvious.
Exactly. I mean, no defense, which there's never been much, but there was no defense this year.
Whatsoever.
Players were shooting from half court. Sure, it's fun when it goes in.
What was the final score of the game again?
I don't even know. It was bad. I mean, it's fun to see high-scoring games like that, but not when theoretically you could just walk up to the basket and dunk it.
It was 184 to 175.
That's bad.
The highest scoring quarter was Team Giannis in the third with almost 60.
Yeah. I mean, I get why players don't want to don't want to play hard like that. I do. But the NBA needs to come up with a solution because they've got this thing. Sure would be great if it worked out for them.
And actually was competitive.
Should they pay players more is an interesting question. Should they pay players who are on the winning team? Maybe make them want to participate more and actually play.
That is a possible incentive, and I think they may end up doing that.
Yeah. Now, Mac McClung won the dunk contest. Charlie, what did you think of his dunk contest performance?
That was incredible. He had I think a couple of perfect ones. I think he had one that was maybe 1 or 2 points off. But yeah, some of his dunks were amazing.
Yeah, some of the best dunks I've seen in the dunk contest. Granted, haven't been watching it for that many years, but no, incredible performance, especially for a G League player, Charlie. He played like 2 career NBA games or something before the dunk contest. The winnings that he got from the dunk contest was basically the same amount that he had made so far in his career.
Wow. So now that the All-Star break is over and we're heading into the second half, what are some teams you're looking at to make some big progress as we head to the end of the season?
Charlie, I have a stat for you on this, okay?
Yep.
So the Western Conference. The current 4 seed in the Western Conference, the Phoenix Suns. This is as of taping. Okay? The current 13 seed in the Western Conference, the Oklahoma City Thunder. Guess how many games separate them?
4.5.
4, yeah. So you're looking at a Western Conference where you've basically got 5 wide open playoff spots.
Yeah, and one good week brings you up 9 spots.
Exactly. I definitely have the Suns, Charlie, getting a spot because, I mean, once Kevin Durant starts playing, you kidding me? Then that is the best team in the league.
But what about LA? Can the Lakers go on a run?
So I thought so. And then we've learned in the last few hours that LeBron James is injured and will miss some amount of time, some unspecified amount of time. So
Uh-oh.
I don't even have the Lakers making the play-in anymore. Don't think that the Blazers are going to do it.
I mean, Lillard just dropped 71.
Yeah, I mean, really, the Warriors are currently 7. I trust them in the playoffs. I don't trust them not in the playoffs, but I would trust them in the playoffs. I don't trust anyone below that because they're just a mediocre team at best. The Jazz, the Timberwolves, the Pelicans, the Blazers, the Lakers, the Thunder, and then of course there's the Spurs and the Rockets who are just completely out of it.
They have something like 30 combined wins, I think.
Less, 27 combined wins.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty pathetic, but it's wide open in the Western Conference, and everyone there, I would say from 7 to 13 is just kind of there. They don't seem like teams that could make any real noise with the possible exception of the Warriors. I do think that the Mavericks will stay in the playoffs. I think that the Clippers will stay in the playoffs.
So what about the East then?
I mean, I'm looking at the standings right now. I don't see a way that the top 4 seeds, the Bucks, Celtics, 76ers, and Cavaliers, aren't the top 4 seeds in some order when we enter the playoffs.
I do. I actually do.
Who do you think could possibly jump up into that top 4?
This is going to be nuts. But have you seen the Knicks' last 10 games?
They're 8-2, unless I'm mistaken.
They beat the Celtics. They beat Brooklyn.
Yep.
They lost to Philly, but then they beat Philly. They were 1-1 against them.
No accomplishment right now.
They've had some good games. They beat Utah. They beat New Orleans. They beat New Orleans pretty considerably.
Not that good of a game. But
they're winning these games.
No, it's a good point. They are winning these games. This is a better team than I'll admit I thought. I did not have high hopes for the Knicks at the beginning of the season. I thought that their offseason strategy was a disaster. But
yeah, and looking at the rest of their schedule, they have some couple of pretty easy games. They play Indiana twice. They play Washington. They play Houston, Orlando. Those are all Charlotte. Those are all super winnable games.
Yeah, no, they are. Especially with Charlotte now, LaMelo Ball fractured ankle.
Yeah.
But looking below the Knicks, Charlie, I mean that's as clear of a top 5 as you're gonna get. Who else goes to the playoffs? The Nets are next. The Nets are going nowhere.
The Nets have completely destroyed themselves.
Maybe the Heat could go somewhere. On paper, they have a decent team, but they really haven't gotten going this year. They feel a lot like the Warriors in that regard. The Hawks feel very mediocre, as do the Raptors, and the Wizards. Don't get me started on anyone below that.
Chicago's a mess. So is Indiana. The Magic are bad again. The Hornets just can't have a good season ever, and the Pistons are the Pistons.
Yeah. The Pistons are on the Victor Wembanyama train.
Yep. Looks like it.
As are probably the Hornets, Pacers, and Magic, and maybe even the Bulls.
I don't think Chicago, but maybe.
But what's Chicago's plan right now? They've got what? They've got nothing.
Lose games, get draft pick better.
Exactly. Chicago's upcoming schedule is actually not bad. They play Toronto and Detroit, then Phoenix, that's tough. Then Indiana, Denver's also tough, then Houston. So there's a chance for them to get back into the play-in. But then what? At best they make it out of the play-in and get first rounded, I feel like.
So who do you have making the finals if they were to happen now then? Who you got?
Don't make me say anything against the Warriors, Charlie.
You think they're gonna make it again?
No, but I said I don't want you to make me say that.
Okay, good. I was seeing if you would. I got I'm gonna go Phoenix and Philly.
Yeah, Milwaukee's really hot right now. They're actually 10-0. in the last. Actually, they've 14-0 in the last 14 games.
Is that sustainable though?
I mean, I don't know. They have a really, really good team.
They do.
I'm gonna go Milwaukee, and you know what? We're gonna do a rematch of the finals from a couple years ago. Milwaukee against Phoenix, and Milwaukee's gonna win again, and Kevin Durant is still not gonna win a ring without Steph Curry.
See, I say Philly for one reason. Because they're going to lose 4 championships in a row now. Would it be if they lost the NBA Finals? 5?
It's a lot.
Yeah, it's just perpetual. They're just going to have that happen forever.
They might. All right, let's move on. Talk about college basketball, Charlie, with Champ Week beginning this week. We've got the 32 conferences all in the next between now and Selection Sunday, and 12 days from when this episode's being released. Every conference will crown the champion in their men's and women's fields, including most of the major women's conferences. Their tournaments are this week. Charlie, in a couple weeks, we will actually, on the podcast, probably on a special episode.
Do a bracket?
Maybe even a live episode. We'll do brackets.
Let's go!
Yeah, but what have you seen in college basketball so far?
I haven't been paying attention very much, but all I know is that we're going to see some chaos, because we always do.
I don't know if it's the greatest sporting event in the world, but it's got to be in consideration.
I called St. Peter's last year.
Did you?
I did. I had them making it past the first 2 rounds.
I think they beat Kentucky in the first round, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
it was a 15 seed.
Yeah, no, that's just an incredible run that they had. I don't think that they're going to do it again. I mean, I'm actually quite confident that they're not going to do it again.
Are they even in the tournament this year?
They won't be. And I mean, unless they can somehow go on a run and win the MAAC championship. But that seems very unlikely. UNC might miss the tournament this year. They were a Final Four team last year, Charlie.
Yeah, that's a concern, isn't it? What happened?
They couldn't get a quad 1 win until they beat Virginia at home last week, or on Saturday.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right.
Kansas, by the way, has something like 14 quad 1 wins.
That's a very bad comparison for North Carolina, isn't it?
For North Carolina.
All right, so moving on now to MLB. Spring training started recently. So, and how are you liking the new rule changes?
Fan on the shift. As much as I don't like it, like in theory, I actually kind of liked in practice, right?
That Boston game a few days ago was so bad.
Yeah. No, it doesn't. The shift rule, it doesn't affect the game that much. I don't feel like.
I'm talking about the ending.
Oh yeah, I'll get to that in a sec.
Well, yeah, we have some things to say about that.
The bigger bases, I have no objection to. I think it's a good rule. The pitch clock, I thought would be decent. It's not. It's a disaster.
It is terrible.
It's terrible. At the very least, you can't have it in the late innings because you can't have games end like that. You definitely can't have it in the postseason. Charlie, what if it's Game 7 of the World Series and the game ends?
That's the end. That's it. That's the World Series right there.
Yeah. What if you can't have that? And honestly, what makes baseball so great in so many ways is the build-up, I think.
Yeah, between each pitch,
it fundamentally changes the game the way that the game works, right? It's not just, it makes it quicker. No, I mean it does make it quicker, but that's not all it does. It fundamentally changes how the game works. Okay, so why are you changing the game to make new fans like it more? No, you're literally just trying to get people that don't like baseball to suddenly like it. Like, care about the fans that you have. I know that your viewership is bad. You know what the solution is? You market the game better. They are so bad at marketing. That means ending blackout restrictions so that fans can actually watch your games. It means actually advertising your stars because you have them It means not scheduling playoff games in the middle of the workday.
It also means stop putting the Yankees in every single advertisement.
Exactly. It's like when was the last time they won something? 2009?
Yeah.
I mean, what is
Show your other
wrong with
teams. You have 29 other ones.
You've got Shohei Ohtani. He's the most you've got him, you've got Julio Rodriguez. Those are almost certainly the two most marketable players in baseball. If you showed a non-baseball fan a picture of one of them, do you think they could name who either of them are?
Probably. If you showed them a picture of Anthony Rizzo, do you think they would know?
No, I don't even think they would recognize a picture of Ohtani or Julio.
Doubtful.
You know who they would recognize a picture of? LeBron James. Everyone knows who LeBron James is.
Yep.
Right? You can do that too.
Everyone knows who Tom Brady is.
Right? Yeah. That is how you grow the game. You market it better. And Major League Baseball is absolutely terrible at marketing things. They have their games on like 20 different platforms, so no one can actually watch all their games.
Admittedly,
What are they doing?
Admittedly, the YouTube games are really fun though.
Yes, but still, what are you doing, MLB? The answer is not to change the game away from the way fans like it. Is it slightly too long? I don't know. The average game time last year was 3 hours and 3 minutes for a game that did not go into extra innings. That is reasonable if you want it slightly shorter. Okay, there's probably other ways, like maybe shortening the ridiculous amount of time between innings. Oh no, wait, no, you can't do that. The TV companies would absolutely kill you over that. So,
see, I have a solution to this that we haven't talked about yet.
What?
Go to an A's game. You can leave in the top of the second inning when they're down by 7.
That's fair. And that brings up another thing about how to grow the game. You actually spend money. These franchises actually spend money to get top players. I guarantee you, Seattle is the perfect example.
Increase the salary cap.
It's a baseball town. Seattle is a baseball town. No one knew it because the Mariners sucked for 20 years. Finally, they're good.
And now everyone loves them.
Everyone loves them. You actually can see that happens almost certainly all over.
Yeah, not just here.
Yeah. Let's move on because Major League Baseball is a disaster. They did just sign someone to a lot of money, though, Charlie.
And yep. Can we get some more on that?
Manny Machado. 11 years, $350 million extension with the Padres after he threatened to opt out at the end of this season.
Thoughts?
He's worth he's worth it now. I get that you kind of have to do it to keep him. Obviously, he's not going to be worth it in 11 years, but that I imagine that goes into their thinking. But the Padres are a perfect example of you spend money to be good. That's how it works, right? The Padres now have a team that can legitimately go win the World Series, and they could legitimately do that in any of the next 5 seasons.
You've forgotten something.
What?
You really trust the playoff Padres?
They made it to the NLCS last year. They beat the Dodgers in a series in the playoffs.
Fair, but still, it's. Do you think they can do it again? It's playoff Padres. They're gonna lose in a really stupid way. They're like the Mets.
They're not as bad as the Mets. And yes,
True.
The Mets will lose again in the playoffs if they even get that far, mark my words.
Let's go, then DeGrom can finally get traded to Seattle. Oh, he's not even there anymore. Never mind.
He's not even there.
He's on a worse team. Thanks, Texas.
Yeah, thanks, Texas.
We're gonna hit like 12 home runs off him.
Yeah. What do you think about heading into the Mariners season, Charlie? How they're gonna do?
I think we're gonna make the playoffs again, hopefully.
Yeah, I think so. I have them personally ranked my 8th most likely team to win the World Series, behind in some order the Astros, the Yankees, the
Blue Jays?
Padres, the Dodgers, the Braves, the Mets, and the Phillies. in some order, not that one.
I would put the Jays over them as well.
The Jays are not as good as they were last year. It's
True.
close, but they're not
True,
as
but
good.
I feel like they're the players that they have can improve.
Okay, but you're forgetting, right? The Mariners made a couple of off-season acquisitions. The big ones, obviously, Colton Wong and Teoscar Hernandez. But that's not the Mariners start the year significantly better than last year. Why? Because they're going to get a full, obviously, assuming health, going to get a full season of Julio Rodriguez. He was terrible to start last year.
Full season of Castillo.
Full season of Raleigh, full season of Kirby, full season of Munoz, who was awful for the first 2 months of 2022.
But you don't think we can beat the Astros?
The Mariners are not as good as the Houston Astros. It's closer than it was last year. It's still
Not enough, though.
It's still a more than a 5-game gap.
And the other question is, are the Angels or Rangers, do they have enough to challenge the Mariners and Astros?
Yeah, I'm interested to hear your thoughts on this because they both had pretty good off seasons, I think.
I would say no. If you can't do it with Ohtani and Trout, you can't do it with anyone.
Yeah, I mean,
if you have 2 of the top 5 best players in the league and you still posted like 60-something wins, I can't trust you at all.
Okay, this is what I say about the Angels and the Rangers, right? If anyone that thinks that they're better than the Mariners, and there's people out there that do, there's lots of projections that show them better. The Mariners are a more than 90-win team. Does anyone truly believe that either the Angels or the Rangers can win 90 games?
Doubt.
Yeah.
And what about we haven't talked about one team, and that's for good reason.
We don't need to.
Yep, good luck, A's.
Yeah, and I mean the Rangers and the Angels though, their bullpens suck. They do. That's their biggest hole on both teams. Although they also both have just terrible bottom thirds of their lineups.
I mean, so do we.
Not as bad as them. Starting pitching on both of those teams, pretty good. Not as good as the Mariners. Their lineups, the Angels is possibly better. Probably better, actually. Rangers is not. We'll see.
So, let's move to our final topic, and this is one from NFL. It's about Russell Wilson. He actually demanded that he be traded from the Seahawks, or that they fired Pete Carroll. What are your thoughts on this? Russell Wilson himself was eventually traded.
Yeah, I'm not that surprised at all. That seems a lot like Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson is in a lot of ways a fraud.
Yeah.
I mean, he got people fired. He had the phony charity that he won Walter Payton Man of the Year for, by the way. He of course he asked for Carroll and Schneider to be fired. I don't care that he denies it. Of course that's what happened, Russell. Everyone knows that. We know you. You care a lot about your personal legacy. At this point, you're just trying to save face in Seattle. It's too late. Yes, you're a Seahawks legend. You gave them their first Super Bowl. You're the greatest Seahawks quarterback of all time.
No.
Yes.
By the time Geno's done, he'll be better.
I do not think that that's true.
We're winning the Super Bowl with Geno Smith. I'm calling it.
That is possible. He will still not be as good as Russell Wilson was. But some of the decisions that Wilson made make him very dislikable in Seattle's eyes. Seattle, frankly, I'm surprised that they did, but they made the right choice by choosing Pete Carroll and John Schneider over Russell Wilson. And as a result, I would bet money on them having a better season than the Broncos next year.
Let's go. I think we're out of time.
I think we are. That was a lot of me ranting. My voice is tired.
All right. Do you think you have enough, though, to do the outro?
I guess. All right.
All
right. Make sure that you subscribe to the C&C Talks podcasts. We have episodes coming out every single Tuesday. They're available everywhere that you listen to podcasts. So make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube or give us a follow on whatever podcast platform you use. Also, Everything's on our website, cctalks.net. Yeah, everything that you need to know about the show, places to find bonus content, all of that stuff. You can call us with your questions at 360-389-260. Again, that's 360-389-2630. Or you can leave us a message on our website. Of course, you can follow us on Twitter at CC Talks Podcast. For our producer Morris, our production designer Zach, and our proof editor Drake, I'm Colin.
And I'm Charlie. See you next week.
Thanks for listening.